I'm sure you're familiar with the experience of being triggered, getting reactive, getting frustrated, lashing out. And we typically view this as a bad thing. I want to completely change how you actually relate to your own triggers. So typically when we get triggered, we go totally unconscious. We go on autopilot mode. And then we just want to force ourselves upon the moment that we are experiencing. We want to just get what we want, and we don't really care about anything else. We want to get the thing that's going to make us feel safe, secure, and regulated again. It's going to make us feel well again. And in the midst of our reactivity, we don't really want to notice that we're being reactive. We don't really want to notice that we're lashing out. We don't want to call ourselves out. We just want to get what we want. But instead of just allowing this unconsciousness to just play itself out over and over and over again, we can wake up right in the middle of our reactivity, right in the midst of your reactivity. You can just state, I'm being reactive. Yep, I'm frustrated. Yeah, I don't feel safe in this experience, and now I'm just feeling triggered. I'm feeling reactive. It's actually as simple as that, but there's so much psychological energy that goes against that, and that's being invested into the triggered state, that it's hard to do that. And then, of course, we have the problem of not wanting to be triggered, like not wanting that into our self-concept, not wanting to notice that about ourselves. We want our self-concept to be this good person who doesn't get triggered and like we're so great. But of course, this is a lie. A lot of the things that don't align well with our self-concept, how we see ourselves, we like to reject that, right? Especially if they're more negative. So instead of avoiding this kind of stuff, you instead begin to face it head on, right in the middle of your reactivity. Yep, I'm being reactive. You wake up out of it rather than being so unconscious. Because like I said, you just fall asleep in a sense. And then your conditioning hijacks you and starts controlling you. And you don't even notice it. You don't even notice that it's happening. So your triggers are essentially, like I said, they're pointing you towards where you need to heal, to where you need to stop avoiding, and to where you need to give your full attention. They're pointing you to where you need to love and accept yourself, essentially. You see, growing up, there was a lot of uncomfortable stuff that occurred to you, feelings of rejection and embarrassment and uncomfortable situations that you couldn't handle. So you had to, in a sense, disconnect and disassociate from those parts of you. And then you get to the point where you're 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, and you don't even really know what happened to you. You don't even know how much you've just like disconnected from yourself for a bunch of different reasons that I can't go into all in this video. So you don't really know another way of being in the world. You don't know another way of experiencing life. You don't have a contrast in experience. And so the process of reintegration begins once you begin to hear about it, right? And then you can hear words like, you have to love and accept these parts of yourself. But when you're at the beginning stages, it's simply too hard. The truth is that you're not going to like it. You're going to dislike these parts of yourself. You're not going to want to feel shame and guilt, and you're not going to want to be honest about your reactivity. It's difficult. But you just got to start applying awareness to it. And as you start to apply awareness to it, it starts to reintegrate into your sense of self. And as it integrates into your sense of self more, you start to naturally care about it. Because now you're identified with it once again. It's reintegrated into you. And once you're identified with something, you care about it. Right? Once something is in your sense of self, you actually care about it. Right? You feel connected to it. You don't want it to be suffering and struggling and agitated. You want it to be well and healthy and vital. So of course, taking this path is going to be difficult, and you have to just recognize where you are at. Right? Rather than hearing someone say that you have to like love yourself and then kind of like saying like, oh, I have to be more loving, right? Just recognize where you're at, right? And then just kind of walking this path one step at a time. So your triggers are pointing you to where you're creating your own suffering as well. Because essentially you are creating your own suffering. It's an unconscious conditioning that is inflicting pain upon yourself in ways that you're not aware of, in ways that are happening automatically, in ways where you just, you're not applying your attention to. Because essentially these wounds, they're just places that we've withdrawn our awareness from. Something happened, it was overwhelming, so we withdrew our awareness from it. We disassociated from it, right? And then we're just bringing awareness back to it in order to integrate it. It's literally just as simple as that. So your triggers are pointing you to where you're not conscious, to where there is just not awareness, within you, to where you are not paying attention to. And they're pointing you to where you can evolve. Because this work here, this psychological work, is some of the most profound stuff you can actually do for your personal growth. This is the most profound stuff that you can actually do for your own well-being, for your own psychological development as well. And this kind of way of relating to yourself and integrating, this bleeds into your relationships, this bleeds into your career, this bleeds into your diet, this bleeds into your whole life. Because your life is going to be organizing itself around your sense of identity, around your level of consciousness. So if you have a whole and integrated sense of self and a high level of consciousness, your life is going to naturally begin to organize around that. Right? Your life's organizing around your identity. Just look at your life right now. You're identified with your job, your relationship, your circumstances of any kind. So of course it's organizing around those things repeatedly in a pattern-like fashion. You do your job every day, you're identified with your occupation, etc. So that's it for this video. If you're interested in working with me, you can apply to do so one-to-one. Link is in the pinned comment. Take it easy.